Advancements in space technology are continuing to evolve. NASA is currently reevaluating after the latest moon mission was scrubbed due to an engine issue, but scientists are constantly looking to the stars for inspiration. Aerospace systems engineer Bailey Burns just conducted a really cool experiment. She tested the hypothesis, can you solve a Rubik's Cube in space? She sat down with our Paula Ebben to tell us all about it.
So, Bailey, you're an aerospace systems engineer. Tell us what exactly you do for a living.
Yeah, so basically I keep humans alive in space, which is a really cool thing to say. I do life support systems for spacecraft and spacesuits. So that's like oxygen, CO2 removal, pressure control, all those things that we take for granted down here on Earth that you need to think about up in space.
Wow. So your social media profiles say you're just a girl trying to get to space. How is that working out for you? What do you think you'll do when you get there, and when do you plan to get there?
Yeah, all great questions, and questions that I really want to know the answer to personally, but it's going well. Obviously, I'm still here on Earth with everyone else, but eventually I do want to go up to space. I really am focusing on having cool experiences down here on Earth for when someone says, oh, that's the kind of experience we need, that's the spirit we need. I'm ready to jump into that opportunity. Hopefully I get to go to space, maybe to the moon, and really be like a space leader who focuses on keeping humans alive, healthy, and happy in space. That's kind of my goal. And I think the biggest thing that I have to do, if and when I get to space, is I got to solve a Rubik's Cube. I got to bring a cube with me.
So I just have to ask, what is the access to NASA? I assume you have to apply to NASA programs, or are there opportunities with private companies like SpaceX?
Currently, the easiest way is still to apply through NASA. So they probably will have another call coming out soon, but obviously tons and tons of people apply for those. So working on that, but I think in the next few years, we're going to see a lot more open up with the space industry. Hopefully companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, Axiom, all these really amazing companies are going to have opportunities for people like me.
Amazing. So how did you get introduced to the Rubik's Cube?
I was introduced by my 7th grade teacher. She basically said, hey, anyone that wants to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube, come up to my room during lunch. And I went, and it took me forever, but I figured it out, and I slowly got faster and faster, and now it's just like become this thing that I do. Whenever I've got a problem that I can't figure out in my head, I'll like solve the cube while I think about the problem, and all that problem solving together just, it's helped a lot.
Wow. So tell us about your zero gravity attempt to solve the cube, and did your hypothesis work out?
The good news is yes, I was able to solve a Rubik's Cube in simulated zero gravity, so not space yet, but simulated. And it was an amazing experience because one of the big things that the cube teaches is 3D spatial awareness in this little cube. And I realized that my external spatial awareness was being thrown around. You know, my arms were lifting up and I was floating into the wall or other people and all these things that when I'm just sitting on the couch solving Rubik's Cube, I don't have to worry about. So I learned a lot about like focus and how to like let those things happen around me, but still be able to focus on the mission at hand. And then obviously weird things happen when you're in zero gravity. The fluids in your body and in your brain get all screwed up. So I'm really interested in continuing research into how that affected everything as well.
Wow. How difficult is it to solve the cube in zero G?
It's one of the more difficult things I've ever had to do, just putting myself to the test. So basically what happens, you're on an airplane and the plane flies in a parabolic arc, and on the down part of that arc, you're in free fall back towards Earth, but everything's falling at the same rate. So that's what gives it the simulated zero gravity experience. So I was 32,000 feet in the air, falling towards Earth with everything floating around me, trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. So yeah, that was a pretty difficult thing to do.
There are going to be little kids who look up to you. They think about someone with a career like yours. What's your advice for kids who are interested in exploring a STEAM career? And how can the Rubik's Cube help?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, my number one tip is obviously pick up a Rubik's Cube. It's a toy, so go have fun with it and just explore and see what happens. I think that's a good way, like, to get introduced to a lot of these concepts. But Arno Rubik, who's the inventor of Rubik's Cubes, he's got this great quote that if you're curious, you will discover the puzzles around you, and if you're determined, you will solve them. And I think that's really what we're talking about here is staying curious, creative, and determined in all of the STEAM-related activities in your life, and that's what's going to guide you to just having a really cool life.
Okay, I've partially accomplished one side of the cube here. What's your advice for anyone who's always wanted to try to solve the cube? I have never been able to accomplish it.
So many good tips, I would say. The biggest one is, like I said, pick it up, play with it. If you've got one side, that's further than most people, so that's awesome. But remember, I mean, Rubik's Cubes are kind of like life. You can't just like magically solve the cube. You have to work through one side, and then after you get that side, you work through the next layer and everything like that. So just stay with it, stay determined, and honestly, treat it like a game. This is a fun thing to do.